All right, welcome everyone. We're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we're here for
Vivy, Fluorite Eyes Song.
Episode 1.
Yep. And
Right.
I forgot the episode 1 part, but
That's
yeah,
all
yeah,
good.
a new show.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool.
A show by Studio Wit.
That's
Yeah.
also anime original. Cool. And one of the people who created it is the light novel author for ReZero.
ReZero.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really cool. So we've got basically a one core just show here.
Yep.
I'm really excited about this. This is something that I've been waiting for. Is Studio Wit, handed off Attack on Titan
Right.
to Mappa. So what are they working on now? Well, seems like a lot of individual little shows here. So Vivy has been one that kind of watched quietly from the sidelines as people are like, ooh, it's good. You should check it out. I'm like, yeah. Okay, eventually. And it won a poll.
And a lot, like, I didn't think that would really happen.
That's why I'm the poll
not this
master.
quickly.
I thought it had a pretty fair chance. Yeah.
Like, okay, here we are.
Here we are. I'm really excited to see how they bring the sci-fi elements into this, because this is clearly a sci-fi of sorts.
Well, and since it's a sci-fi, that's something very different genre than parody fantasy isekai.
Sure.
So, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see how that goes.
And also a potentially female character's name being the title feels like it's not going to be a stereotypical kind of action thriller kind of sci-fi, which is what I'd say most sci-fi stories end up being. And then also having song in the title, meaning there's a musical element to it as well.
Cool.
Which just sounds really awesome. I'm really excited to get into this one as well. But then also, I hope that I'm right in that it is a one and done thing, because usually these anime original one core packages are able to tell such beautifully simple stories that get at some really cool ideas, but don't overstay their welcome in trying to explore those ideas in some kind of
just
grandiose, ambitious way.
Tight, to the point story, and okay.
Yeah, so y'all, without further ado, let's get into this. All right, everyone, now be sure to go check out the reaction portion of the video in the description below, then come back here for the discussion. Okay, here we are, episode 1.
I'm a fan already. I
Definitely
generally
seems like our kind of show. Yeah.
Yes. I generally love stories that have to do with like AI and the whole blurring the line between like what's human, and because it's a wonderful way to kind of explore just humanity in regular humans, right? By taking, say, hey, okay, if humans got to the point where they made these artificial copies of themselves, essentially, right? At what point do those copies become the real thing, right? And this
is where they're going with it. We have a very classic story example fear thing of the AIs achieve, singularity and rapidly advance beyond what humans are capable of, and then also are able to choose to move beyond humans. So that's what we're fighting against, that this will all fall apart.
And I gotta say, as far as a way to present that notion, because that's a very kind of like old idea, like not a lot of stories go for the hey Skynet thing as much anymore. The cold open to it was fantastic. It was persuasive. It was hard hitting. It was visceral. Right? Yeah. It's like, how could we not? See that and be like, oh shit,
And also, it felt like the cold open was actually the end, because Vivy is like,
going out to sing.
There is an aspect of the garb that she wears that looks like she's been on a journey. And she looks powerful and imperial, like almost like she's like a military leader of some kind. Like she seems to be like the head of some kind. Like she doesn't look like an idol. She looks almost like a rebel leader of some kind. There's like dirt and like scuffed marks all over her arms and face and stuff.
Right.
And it's like, oh shit, what has she been through to get to this point? And then they have the which is probably showing that this is in a different time, and then we have the cold open of the dreaded future, while the music or the song plays over this, dreaded future.
Yeah.
So it's it's so good.
I love it. Like it's something where the show did a really good job of making the take on AI also feels distinct, right? In that, okay, our main character is an AI, right?
Right.
They're the first autonomous AI. All right, cool. And then there's also the rule of AI don't tend to do well when they have multiple directives and objectives.
Right.
So it's generally just you do your one thing and that's what you do, right? And that's a great limitation for it. It's also a great way to foresee the inevitable like falling out between AIs and humans, because if an AI is tasked with a job, right, and its only concern is about doing that job, then you can't really have it be something where it has to care about morality and things like that. It's just do this job and this is what the job entails, and hope that they never have to creatively problem solve, because if they do, then they won't be able to take things into account that shouldn't be done in order to get the job done. So bring happiness through song, right? There might be things that you don't want to do along that objective, right? I'm going to kidnap people and bolt them to the benches or whatever, so that way they will hear my singing, right?
Yeah, but in a lot of ways her mission is basically just vague enough that bring happiness is the objective, the means is through song,
right? And because she's autonomous, she can actually do things in a different way, right? But there's a reason that other AI are not autonomous now, right? She's probably some experiment, and I love that it's something as like innocuous as just I'm a build an idol at like a park, right? Yep. Like cool, yeah, that's not something that's going to do anything crazy. They didn't give autonomy to some like security AI or something like that.
It's something very simple, and probably the reason why is because this aspect of singing and bringing happiness to people might give the people that are probably her monitors good data as to how AIs interact with the idea of bringing something as quasi like how would an AI compute what happiness is, other than maybe like a positive response of some kind.
Some endorphin rush or whatever, but for something as inquantifiable as art.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Especially for something like singing, it's like, okay, she can sing the notes, right?
But she's not good at garnering a crowd.
Nope.
So I like that that's another aspect of her probable arc that she'll go on, is by the end of this show, she will have the largest crowd. She'll probably have all of humanity listening to her sing.
She already has one big fan, right? And not the adorable little girl that was a fan of hers, but I love the whole thing of that we don't even realize what she's doing at the beginning, but of the girl like putting her head to Vivy's, the one thing of like basically trying to connect with her even though she's an AI in the ways that AI connect with each other.
Right.
I love it.
It's so
I love
good.
It. That's it's just a visual thing, and it's just
it's just hidden there, and it's shown before we know the explanation for it. So I see what you're doing, show.
It's great.
Yeah. I really love the way the not Navi, the new bot that kind
of virus.
The virus, yes. Yeah. I forgot if he had a name at this point.
I don't know.
But the way he snappily played with a lot of the knowledge that he would not just have of Diva, aka Vivy,
but the future
in such a way to basically run circles around the lesser programming of this AI, and yet she's the first fully autonomous AI. So in some ways, he's forcing a dramatic evolution just by interacting with her.
Oh yeah,
which I think is a very clear foreshadowing bit for how her interactions with humans will go in the future. Is that even just after this episode, she was basically getting exposited to about like 70% of the episode, but still already the ways in which she must be, adapting to that in new data and stuff is going to change how she interacts with people. Thus, she saves Aikawa twice.
Right. And not just the saving him the second time or even the first time. Like those are the kind of pivotal moments, right? The most measurable, like, yes, this is showing that she is changing. But just having something where all of a sudden, oh, hey, I'm keeping you from your job, right? By distracting you and doing all of that stuff. Oh, I'm going to try and catch this, bear thing, right? This virus, right? To try and get it to leave, right?
Right.
Telling it over and over again isn't working, so I'm going to, exercise my own free will, basically.
I love the way she pretended, like, I don't care about you. And then it goes after him, and then would stop.
Yep. That was a hilarious scene.
Detail was so good.
But it really is showing a not insignificant amount of growth from her, right? Because this is the AI that we have seen to do a wonderful performance, singing and everything, and then immediately, okay, I'm done.
I'm done.
Right?
Yep. No deviation from the standard routine.
Right.
Once her timer goes off on the specific thing in the HUD, which I love the way they've been using the first-person POV HUD for what she's got to do there. It is, you're in the wrong position and place to do your singing. So you not only need to move in advance of the timer,
right,
which will give you a little warning of, hey, by the way, you've got about 30 or 40 seconds to get over there and do this. Imagine if she was 10 miles away.
Then that'd be a bit more of a
problem. It'd be really difficult to get over there. So what would you do?
And that's also something that, from the standpoint of, hey, if you're going to send like a virus back in time, right? A program, which I love that it was something that wasn't physical, it was information, right?
It entered her archive, which started out as a mental projected music room of sorts.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. I want that space to be explored again.
Right, because
in the future.
Like it was brought up when the concept of her like being on the grand stage and everything. Well, I can't even dream of that. Wait, what? Wait, did you just say dream? Did you just insinuate? Wait, hold on. Just lots of little things that are just sort of thrown throughout the episode and just strewn about and mixed in that give a whole lot of flavor and color and ask a lot of questions because it would be very easy for an AI as a main character to not be compelling. Like, like most of my favorite AI in stories, even if they are super colorful and like emotive and things like that, are more of like the side character, the GLaDOS, the R2D2, right? All of those, right?
Yeah, either very noisy and charismatic or extremely quiet and like nuanced.
Yeah, the Kudereis, the Yuki Nagatos, the fact that this emotive entity entered into this AI as a virus, right? And that's how it's like categorized. I appreciated that.
Yes, that was good.
That was fun.
Because we can already tell what are the things that could be useful for Vivy's mission.
Sure.
If you were to take a lesson from this AI,
even if you just had a fun, adorable mascot, right?
Yeah.
And suddenly, oh hey, a fun stuffed bear that talks to the fans and everything.
Introducing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like this gives me like all the best vibes of like what I like if you took Khan from Bleach and actually made him enjoyable. like
sure.
I am so excited for this dynamic to basically have the very much the straight man for the comedy routine and then the one that brings all the chaos, right?
Right.
As this virus, right? But then also brings the call to action. And a lot of the ways that Vivy even resisted the call to action, you could see as being something of showcasing her humanity even, or potentially even the shortcomings of her own programming, right?
Yeah.
Like the fact that it had to kind of bend over backwards in order to explain to her how all these different things would actually help her musical career.
Right.
Goes to show that in her singular focus of I just have the thing of bring smiles to people or bring joy to people through music, right? She actually was not really iterating or following her directive, right? Like what she was doing wasn't working, and she was continuing to do it without changing anything.
Exactly.
Even though she has the autonomy to change things if she so desires or deems it helpful.
Yeah.
Well, so maybe even, saving the future aside, this bear is really helping you out. I thought for a second that the bear would take the angle of, I'll actually help you on your objective of bringing joy through music if you help me with this other thing.
Right. But instead it's the, no, I'm already on your side.
Right.
I don't care whether you end up doing this
I'm stuck with you.
quickly.
You are my single directive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have 100 years in order to make this work.
Yep. And we have some immediate things that we need to address.
We have some immediate things we need to address here. But I love that he didn't actually bring the full stakes of that it's important that she do this. Because I almost wonder if he predicted that, if I add in all this extra stakes and stuff to it, then she might actually not do it.
Oh, right. But if it's the, he wants to, watch you sing. Well, he's going to die tonight.
Yeah.
That sounds like a problem, Your fan base almost had an infinite % increase, right? Or 100% increase. She's got the kid.
This is the one.
Yeah.
And she's not always performing to an empty crowd.
That's true.
So that's true. An empty stage, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
But
so I'm really excited to see how they'll bring this up, and not just the you're performing for people, but the what is happiness? What is the way in which you can measurably determine that you are making progress in your mission? Because right now you kind of suck at doing your mission.
Yep.
So, do you feel the need to change anything with that regard? I'm really curious with that. But then, the AI Naming Act, which will lead to individual, civil rights, human rights for AI.
Because that's a big question. Like if you go into, thought exploring, like, if AI were to come about, AI rights, that is a very, very big topic.
Yeah. So this saving of Aikawa will change the way in which the Naming Act comes about. But it's not ultimately going to change the things that follow the Naming Act. If anything, the part that I'm really curious if they explore here is based on data that this bot would basically know from the future. The things that they change could accelerate the actual point at which the
butterfly
AI
effect,
revolution comes about. And thus, they might need to make sure that they do things slow enough.
Sure.
That they don't actually end up bringing it about in 50 years
changing the
instead of
timeline
100 years.
too much. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the other things that I'm curious to have it be explored here. The fact that they call it the Singularity Project, right? In particular, I love, because the idea of an AI singularity is just about one of the most terrifying things ever. If you're not familiar with that, it's where if an AI gets smart enough that it can create a better version of itself, then very quickly it's just like, in a very short amount of time, you can have like God-like almost, just difference between AI and humans, right?
Right.
And so in this situation, at some point, there was probably some kind of AI singularity that happened or whatever. The AI got to the point where they decided to revolt. But here's the thing.
Yep.
And
I know I'm thinking the same thing.
We love that saying, but that meant that was when they decided to take action, not when they started plotting.
Right.
And in this situation here, there is a very good chance that AI might have helped orchestrate this hit on this person specifically to help bring about the Naming Act.
Yep.
Right? Because AI kind of it's that whole thing of like droids in Star Wars, right? Nobody ever looks, sideways at a droid, right? Like that never happens. So if AI suddenly start to become self-aware and they're like, okay, cool, it might get to the point where we need to take them out. Well, one, we've got all the time in the world. Two, they are completely dependent on us and in no way suspect us, right?
Because it's not even an us, it's just
right. Yeah, right. Like but it could be in us. We saw how they all did the forehead thing, and as soon as there was some kind of emergency, AI immediately took control of the situation.
Everything.
Everything. Everyone was subservient to them, right? the only difference is that they weren't killing the people, right? But
Right.
they are kind of in command at this point. You know,
Yeah.
it's just that they maintain the illusion. It's Kingpin in the apartment in
Right.
season 3.
Yeah.
You know,
But then the other terrifying thing about the AI Singularity is that the project is called Singularity because, well, they're trying to stop the singularity.
But wait a minute.
But
or are we
actually-
just trying to create a singularity that's on our side?
We're actually potentially just trying to teach an AI how to do
Yep.
that themselves.
And so this is all right. So you might groan a bit at this, but this was one of the concepts that I loved so much that I was like, okay, I want to explore this a bit in Battle Lines. And the idea of, hey, if you're going to have an AI in the whole singularity thing, is it that you want to stop the singularity, or is it that you want to guide the singularity as it happens? Like you know, like if you
eventually humans just realize that's all they can do.
that's all they can do, right? Because if you were to treat AI as kind of the children of humanity in a way,
and
then
we are their god, basically.
right,
Yeah.
or to put it in a maybe a bit more potentially disturbing way, we are their parent, and at some point the parent or the child will surpass the parent.
Yeah.
What do we want to do? Well, we want to make sure we take care of the child and make sure that they maybe understand certain things so that way hopefully they'll be, you know, not a monster,
Or
right?
just in the simplest parent-to-child terms, they'll take care of us in our old age.
Sure. Yeah.
As we go on the eve of, you know, humanity, you know,
Yep.
the children will, you know, provide us with a nice, wonderful, caring home.
Right.
And yeah, the idea that Vivy is not only the first fully autonomous AI, which is probably why Vivy was given this mission, because she's the earliest example of an AI that could theoretically save the world, because that's the farthest back in time that an AI could probably take this programming
and actually do
something about it.
Yep.
Therefore, in a lot of ways, what I find to be really kind of perfect here is that Vivy might actually bring about the exact future again, no matter what, because she's fully autonomous, and given the stimuli and sorts of what's going on, I think that
Yeah.
I almost feel like she needs to sing to AI,
Sure.
and not to humanity.
Right. So
Like I just to tripify this whole thing, like that's
I get it.
That's the future I really feel like needs to happen here.
Right.
Because I don't feel like humanity. They could go into the dark thing of there's no real hope. We're going to have this happen no matter what. But I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
So
Yeah.
if you get to the point where AI are people, right, and you treat them as such and everything, then it's not really about, do we make sure that we don't go to war with AI, right? Because humans go to war with humans plenty.
Yeah.
Right? It's about trying to make sure that it's not completely one-sided, and that there are discussions so that hopefully it happens as little as possible, right? But not so that it doesn't happen at all. Because if you were to make it so that it doesn't happen at all, you would basically need to take away the free will of one of the entities, whether humans or AI, so that way they are incapable of going to war.
Right.
Because if they truly are free to do whatever, that will happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when and what it looks like.
Right.
So, if you get something where then maybe humanity and AIs are able to, I don't know, be united as fans of an AI idol, right, or something like that, right? If they're able to share interests and actually connect with
their
people.
cell phones in the air.
Yeah, wave their cell phones in the air, or put their foreheads to another human, even if it doesn't directly exchange data, right? Maybe it exchanges a different kind of data, you know?
Yeah.
Then maybe there's hope, right?
Maybe.
But other than that, the only solution is to get rid of all the AI, which is what the virus is wanting to do.
Yeah.
But maybe that's not exactly how it will
do you
go.
want to know the trippiest aspect of this, because of the time travel element? Is that eventually this will work no matter what. But the singularity will happen faster and faster each time.
Okay.
Because as they move Vivy towards the future, she learns about how to do this better, right?
Oh, and then she passes it on.
once she gets to the end there, she passes that info on to the next
and that's
thing
actually
there.
just
send
Singularity
that back to her. Then that info keeps going and going and going, and Vivy is the Singularity.
Right. So and back to what we said before. And it's the
song that basically would hold humanity either in this perpetual 100-year loop of happiness before inevitable destruction, or it's the idea that the song is getting better. Humanity and AI and our connections, not just with ourselves, but our children, effectively, is getting stronger and healthier. But it's not there yet. We don't have a perfect solution for this, but we are touching more and more people every single time. The singularity is inevitable.
Well, yeah.
But that isn't necessarily a positive or a negative.
Right.
It's just a fact.
Well, because one of the other things that's kind of trippy if you think about it is that there's a theory that, like, what if you were to think about humanity as a species as if it was like a single organism,
right?
Like say a giant computer,
right?
And each human is like one processor on the computer, right? And then it comes to different conclusions and things like that, and it's a fun and potentially scary or awe-inspiring way of looking at the human species. But if you think about it, the AI are just a more extreme version of that, because they can directly transfer data between each other. They can, progress this faster and everything, right? When at the end, when we see this mayhem and everything, it very much seemed like the AI were functioning as a single entity, right? And it was just humanity and AI, and they were fighting, right? One was destroying the other, and so. If we make it so that Vivy is the Singularity, that could I mean, I can't say how excited I am for the concepts that this show has already started to explore and seems to
continue to explore.
Be continuing to explore. Yeah.
I also really love the idea that the reason why we had in the very beginning, this is another thing that Jake and I talk about a lot, but the very beginning of a show, not just the beginning of like an episode, because that's in and of itself important, but the beginning of a series is extremely important for communicating a couple things. Usually, I would say that the best stories communicate the end, essentially, at the very beginning.
Right, even if it's not directly.
Right. Yeah. But this one literally has a mechanic as to where it was literally telling us potentially the end, which was Vivy about to go out onto a stage, looking like she had just
fought a battle
hell to get there, or just had struggled a bunch. But then we had that cut there. That could have been time travel. That could have been some stuff there. But whatever that is, it's not really important now. But the idea that we then have an AI that sings to the dead, basically. It's clearly not Vivy, right?
Right. Her
model was different.
Right, exactly.
It wasn't the same
her
voice.
Replacement, for 100 years later and all that.
Right. But and it also had the red, thing on the neck,
Oh.
Instead of it being blue or white, basically showing that it had gone rampant and crazy and stuff. So it wasn't like that could have been Vivy's voice singing through the bot to be like, I'm doing it,
right.
I'm trying. I mean, that's possible, but I think that there's a possibility that this story is telling us that Vivy is going to get there, and it might not matter. It might not change anything immediately. That's why I put out the loop theory of, we'll try this again.
Well, right.
Go back.
Well, that's the other tough thing is that, if AI start to realize, even if it's in the future or whatever, that there seemed to have been an AI that was altering events or interfering in events, they wouldn't necessarily know through time travel, but was doing things that helped to make, history go a particular way, they might come to the conclusion that might have been time travel. We have the ability to send, stuff back. Now, hopefully, that the amount that the AI would be able to
have access to that
kind of stuff would be limited, because as far as we know, there aren't any other autonomous AI.
Right.
But what humans know about AI and what AI are actually like, that's...
Humans know about AI, but not only that, there was literally an AI assistant with the guy that sent this program back in time. So the direct disconnect from the time travel mechanism and an AI, interface of sorts, was basically nothing.
Yep.
So I am really nervously excited about that being explored probably near the end of the story, because the idea of time travel needs to be, I would say, kind of pushed back a little bit so that we can get more attached to the main character here, but also see what kind of course she takes to make progress.
Right.
While the story is probably going to take place over a long period of time, at least I assume, of course.
Yeah.
I'm really curious as to see where they go with it. Just like 13 episodes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
This could go really
it is
quickly.
going to be fantastic. I love that the humans are incapable of actually doing time travel. It makes sense because sending actual objects back in time seems a lot more complicated than data. AI can get the data, cool.
Yep.
But that also means that we could very much be in a Terminator kind of situation where it's how many times can the AI send back forces to try and make things go more towards their desired future? As many times as they goddamn please, right? Like, it's irrelevant, right? And that's even before you get to the idea of what kind of time travel is this? Is it going to different timelines, or is it changing the timeline?
Yeah, we don't know this world's rules of time travel, and the fact that they are introducing time travel at all means that in the future, the AI could have brought about the rampancy point through time travel. Sure. In order to instigate it as early as possible as they could.
Who's to say that the AI haven't already done that?
Yeah.
Right? This thing might have been something where it's not that AI were already, sentient or whatever, but they got little virus downloads, and then suddenly, hey, they've got upgrades.
That seems familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost like that happened kind of this episode.
Yeah. And by the way, AI wouldn't need to have a human go into an area and then type up a thing and press a button. They'd just be like, we should do that. It's done. There we go.
It's done. We thought about it. Yep.
Yeah.
Goody.
Oh, boy.
So, y'all, thank you so much for watching this episode's reaction and discussion. If you want to see the next episode's reaction and discussion right now, though, go check out the link in the description below. For our Patreon, you can get an early access there. You can watch full-length timer reactions there, and all this comes with Discord access, so you can chat with us in the community there about this show, about anime in general, and also be sure to check out our Twitch channel.
We stream every weekday. The info's in the description.
Yeah, so if any of that interests you, we'll see you there. But until then, we're Semblance of Sanity. I'm Caleb.
I'm Jacob.
And we'll see you all
next time.